Oh, what's up Leapers game? I'm the Jizz, and I'm going to be your host for today. Now in this video, I'm going to be disclosing the 15 best top laners of the incoming 11.11 patch. And let me just say, the top lane next patch is going to be one of, if not the best carry roles in the game, because there are a ton of item buffs hitting a Shin's island, and to know the champs that can abuse these better than most, well, you're going to have to stick around, aren't you? Whether you're playing a tank, a magic damage dealer, a bruiser, a fighter, this list has it all, even Yordles. Now this list will give you an idea on who to play next patch, but if you want to know how to play this crazy game of League, you have got to check out the GameLeap website linked in the description and comment section. Who doesn't want daily challenger content that is for sure going to help you improve and achieve your goals this season? Someone should send it to Cloud9 as well, to be honest. So yeah, unclamp yourself and get signed up. Alright, so let's get into it guys, and the first champion we're going to talk about here coming in at number 15 is Darius, and even though Darius got nerfed last patch so his E cooldown is a little higher now, well next patch, one of your core items, Black Cleaver, is getting better. So what you're going to be doing guys, as you can see on screen, is reducing your target's armor more. And next patch as well, with tanks being more useful because of all the tank item buffs, which we'll get into, this means that against these champions guys, you are going to be able to shred them more than ever. Now the reason Darius isn't higher on this list guys, I know lots of people struggle to play against him, the reason he isn't higher is because he has a lot of counters that are good at the moment. So if you think of Wukong, if you think of Kled, there are champions that can really ruin his day. But still, with Stride Breaker, with Steris Gauge, with the new Black Cleaver, it's very hard to ignore Darius and not put him on this list, so he comes in at number 15. Now ahead of Darius guys, we have a champion. Well, if you see one of these on your team, you know you're either going to get someone who's going to pop off or someone who's going to run it down, leave the game and type some edgy comments. And this of course is Riven, and for Riven guys, this season has been very kind to you. Okay, your items have been nerfed a little bit, namely Gold Drinker, but it did get buffed recently, which is great of course, but you yourself have been buffed. So your E cooldown got reduced by 2 seconds earlier in the season, and this of course is insane, especially with Gorge Drinker, because it gives you ability haze for each major item you have, right? So later in a game, you will be Eing every 3 seconds, and it's extremely hard to bring you down. And as I mentioned for Darius as well guys, Black Cleaver is getting improved as well, and because it's going to be good against armor building tanks, you might even see this rushed in some cases as it is now. You've also got the buff death stance from a few patches ago guys as well, if you're against those bruisers and fighters in the top lane like Darius for example. So for Riven, if there was a time to channel your inner box spots guys, it is right now. Now when I talked about Darius guys, I talked about the tanks, okay? So let's say you don't want to play Darius, you don't want to play Riven, you don't want to play Bruiser, you just want to take it easy in the top lane, build a Bramble verse, and yeah, just scale and tank it up. Well, how about Ornn? Ornn is one of the most successful top laners in the game right now, one of the highest win rates. And next patch, okay, Bramblefest is getting nerfed, so against champions like Fiora and auto attackers, just AD champions in general in the top lane, they are going to be a little scarier in that early to mid laning phase. But Warden's Mail and Randuin's Omen is getting buffed, Frozen Heart is getting buffed, and Warmog's armor is getting buffed as well. And Warmog's is especially interesting guys, because with just 2 items now on Ornn and any of the other tanks on this list, with just 2 major items, you can get access to its passive because it's now changing to 1100 bonus health instead of 3000 maximum health. This means you're getting it earlier in a game and your 2 item spike will be more legit. So Ornn comes in at number 13 guys, you still have a really good laning phase, and of course your scaling and team fighting potential will still be as strong. Now let's say you don't want to play a champion who looks like one of those dwarves from The Hobbit. You want to play a champion who's going to do Chogath ultimates with her Q, and this of course is Camille. And for Camille guys, what's interesting in next patch, okay, we all know you're strong, especially later in the game when you get your 2-3 item spike. Well, next patch, Divine Sunderer is getting buffed, the mythic item. So what it's doing guys, the Sheen passive, the Spellblade damage, is doing more damage based on the opponent's max HP, so the more HP they have, the more damage you're going to deal, and you're also going to be healing for more. And yes, this is going to be great against tanks of course, but also against bruisers generally, because pretty much every bruiser item will have a bit of health in it as well. So if you think of Black Cleaver, which is getting buffed of course, Gorge Drinker, Stride Breaker, Steris Gauge, Titanic Hydra, everything has health in it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Divine Sunderer became the most popular bruiser mythic in the game next patch. So Camille comes in at number 12. Now let's say you don't want to play a tank, you don't want to play any AD champion, well how about an AP champion, and how about an assassin in the top lane who is one of the few assassins who can really pop off, and this is Icarly. And the main reason for this guys, okay, we know the sorcerer shoes, we know the Hextech Rocket Belt spike, this is very scary indeed. Even with the new Rift Maker, you're getting to those stacks quicker if you went with that mythic instead. Your item spikes are very powerful, which is very important in this meta of course. But also guys, because of the summoner spell setup with Ignite and Teleport, you see on Icarly guys, you don't really need Flash all that much, which means you can take a more offensive summoner spell, which really helps your kill pressure and kill threat in the laning phase, and gives you the chance of turning that 1 kill into 3, into 5, into 10. It gives you that snowballing potential potential to 1v9 games. Also guys, Icarly is great into melee champions as well, not because she is a melee champion, but she actually outposts and out-harasses them with her Q, but also because of her disengage right with her W, her Shroud. So when a Renekton jumps onto you, when a set starts running at you with his Q going, you can just pop your Shroud and nothing really happens. That play dissipates and you're safe. She's also a real pain to gank, just make sure to hold onto your E and your W if you're scared of the enemy jungler coming in hot. So Icarly comes in at number 11 guys. Now coming in next guys, starting off the top 10, we have another bruiser who is one of the most successful champions in the top lane again, just like Onor and the rest of these champions to be honest. And this of course is Kled. And I mentioned Titanic Hydra earlier, giving you HP of course as a bruiser item. Well, Titanic Hydra, it was one of the reasons why Kled is so good. But you also have Gore Drinker in there, which got buffed recently as I mentioned with Riven. Darius Gauge, which now stacks properly, giving you the tankiness you need in those late game 1v1s and team fights. And you also have Black Cleaver guys, which is certainly another option. Now you can get absolutely rinsed in the top lane guys as Kled if you're playing against a Fiora, so I'd recommend banning her. But apart from that, most matches are very winnable, and the fact that most people don't actually know how to play against Kled. And what's also great is that after you win your lane, even if you're not winning your lane, you can use your ultimate to roam around the map and impress that lead elsewhere. So Kled once again guys on our top lane champions countdown. Now beating Kled to the number 9 spot is a similar type of champion but doesn't build exactly the same items, but this is Nocturne, who again has one of those ultimates that can influence the map. Now with Nocturne guys, the build is a little different and I'm sure we're all accustomed to it by now, but you need Strikebreaker, you need Darius Gauge, Guardian's Angel potentially, and because of that Black Cleaver buff as well, you would want to be taking this again into bruisers or tanks who are stacking HP against you. And with the Black Cleaver buff as well, this is now another option for you against champions and maybe teams who are stacking a bunch of armor. As I mentioned in our mid laners video guys, Nocturne, who featured on that as well, has insane wave clear, great sustain, great gank setup as well because of your ultimate and even if you're not level 6 with your E of course, and he's also hard to gank especially if that Nocturne player is holding onto his E and his W. Even his Q, which gives him the movement speed, it can be used offensively and defensively as well. So very hard to nullify and beat in lane and impossible to stop from influencing the map. So Nocturne comes in at number 9. Now just ahead of Nocturne guys, let's say you want to play a champion who has like the ultimate sustain in lane, but also has insane gank setup and kill potential after level 6. Well this of course is Lee Sin, who has really come of age in the top and mid lanes because of the recent buffs to his Q cooldown and his E cooldown. Even though his E cooldown got kind of reverted recently to 9 seconds again, it's still super valuable in that laning phase. Now with Lee Sin as well guys, remember your passive, which gives you attack speed after using an ability. Those two auto attacks with attack speed stack Conqueror quicker, which is a major positive of course. Your E gives you a little bit of poke and harass against melee champions. Your W gives you sustain and the slipperiness you need, and also the setup, so if you ward hop and kick someone, if you just ward hop and E them to slow them. So there's really no weakness for Lee Sin, and with Gore Drinker now as well and the damage you do generally, you know, your late game actually used to be weak back in the day, now it's actually strong. Now the first 2 levels you might have to play a little bit passive and probably will have to against bruisers in particular, but for the most part guys, you can make Lee Sin work, so pick him up in 11-11. Now the next AP champion guys, so we've got Icarly, who was number 11. Well how about number 7, Rumble? And for Rumble guys, what Rumble offers you different to Icarly is that laning phase, especially early on. It gives you that power, it gives you that oppressiveness that sometimes you need, especially in this meta because Scuttle Crab is important. Just winning lane is important, and for Rumble, it's very easy to do now because you have that 50% attack speed buff in your passive. So when you overheat, which used to be actually a weak point, it's no longer a weakness. So often if you do overheat, this is now a good thing. Next patch as well guys, no magic resist items are getting buffed, so you're still going to be as effective and as annoying in that top lane. So Sorcerer's Shoes, Hextech Rocket Bell Rumble comes in at number 7. Now beating Rumble guys to that number 6 spot, okay, let's say you don't want to play an aggressive early game champion, let's say you just want to chill and scale. Well how about Chogath, who is still a super good top laner? Yes, it's a little scary in that early game with bruisers and fighters running at you, but the Darius nerf kind of helped. And even though Bramblevest is getting nerfed guys, you also have Warden's Mail, which is now an option instead because you're going to be reducing that enemy's attack damage onto you, so their auto attacks by 5 and then a bit of your maximum health as well. Now this is great of course in that early laning phase. And because Warden's Mail is buffed guys, Randuin's Omen is buffed as well. And then you have Frozen Heart, which is buffed as well, so the attack speed slow is now up by 5%, so if you're against attack speed based champions in the top lane like Jax, Tryndamere, and of course in the bot lane now you're seeing Jinx, Kog'Maw, Vayne's a bit more, this is really valuable. And Warmog's armor as well guys is now buffed, as I mentioned with Ornn, and health on Chogath obviously is one of the most important stats. So if you weren't already that immovable object guys in the top lane, well next patch you certainly are. Now before we get into the top 5 champions guys, and there are some red hot picks in here, first of all I want you to like the video. If you're enjoying this series, if you want to see more top lane countdowns, give us a like to let us know. And remember as well, before closing your browser, to check out the GameLeap website for up to 20 challenger videos per week. That's right, 20 challenger videos per week. We don't just recycle our YouTube videos and put them on there for our paying subscribers. No, we care about you and what you're paying for, so we give you as much challenger tier content as possible to help you improve and become one of the best on the Rift. So get signed up, links down below. Now coming in at number 5, guys, it's the best gore drinker abuser in the game. So if you thought Riven was good and Kled was good, well, what about Fiora? This is just next level. And next patch, okay, Camille might be getting stronger, Darius might be getting stronger because of the Black Cleaver change. There are a couple of other champions who are kind of similar to you, getting a bit of an increase in power, but for Fiora, all your power is still there. With Gore Drinker, Ravenous Hydra, and there's Darius Gauge, this is one of the strongest 3 item spikes in the entire game. And what's also interesting for next patch, guys, when you're going to be seeing tankier champions with more HP because of the Warmog's buff, in 11.4, so earlier in the season, Riot buffed your passive so it's doing more damage based on the target's maximum health. So if that Chogath, if that Onor, if that tank top laner is building more HP with Warmogs, guess what? Your vitals are going to be doing more damage to them. How good is that? With Bramblevest nerfed as well, you're going to be cut less in that laning phase, so Fiora comes in, guys, at number 5. Now, beating Fiora, guys, to number 4 is the best clay pigeon shooter in the game, and this, of course, is Urgod. And I'm sure we all know by now about Titanic Hydra and the on-hit that gets put into your W, which you now max. We all know about Stridebreaker as well, giving you the stickiness you need to stick to those enemy champions. Well, next patch, guys, as well, you have the Black Cleaver buff that's coming in, so these item spikes, these 2-3 major item spikes that you're going to have, this is going to make you one of the best dueling top laners in the game and give you even more team fighting potential. And this is with Urgod's W-AD ratio getting nerfed, by the way. So later in a game when you are getting more AD in your kit, yes, okay, you might not be hitting as hard and purging as hard, but seriously, it's down by just 2% at max rank. Like, no one is even going to notice this, but what they are going to notice is still how good the god is. Now, starting off the top 3, guys, if you're a fan of build diversity, well, you're going to love this next tank top laner, and this, of course, is Shen, and unlike most tanks, Shen, guys, has one of the better laning phase out of all of them. The reason being is because your 3 abilities and your passive work so well together, and they give you that dueling potential early on, right? Because you're blocking auto attacks with your W, your Q is giving your autos bonus magic damage, attack speed, and attack range, your passive is giving you a shield, which will get buffed by shield bashing your runes, and your taunt is great for engaging and also escaping. Now, of course, you can go the standard setup with Shen and just go full tank with Chem Tank, Sunfire Aegis, whatever it is, and then Warmogs, Random and Omen after that. It's completely up to you, but what you can also do is go with the Expedu route and go with the Redemption build, so you go with Chem Tank first for the ability haste, and then you go with Redemption and Mikhail's after that, and that's for the shield power. And this build, guys, is one of the sickest ever, and it synergizes so well with Shen, especially now, because in 11.9, guys, Riot buffed your ultimate, so you're shielding champions for more later in a game. So this means that when you do ult, none of your teammates are going to die, because you give them that shield that they desperately need to hang on to their life. Now, the top 2 top laners, guys, of 11.11, well, these 2 have one thing in common, and in next patch, one of them, for sure, is definitely going to abuse Divine Sundra, and the other one, well, Divine Sundra became a heck of a lot more viable. Now, for Nasus, who is the runner-up, guys, to the number 1 top laner of 11.11, that Divine Sundra buff is so juicy indeed. Like, against any champion with any sort of HP, you are going to be one-shotting them with that Q of yours, providing you have enough stacks, of course, and you're also going to be healing for more as well, of course, and for Nasus with that innate healing of yours, this is just the icing on the cake. Now, yes, Bramblevest is nerfed, so it might be a little scarier going against those AD top laners, but Warden's Mail is buffed, so you have an alternative in there. You've also got to think about the Frozen Heart buff as well, guys. Randall's Omen, Warmog's armor, like all of your major items, guys, all of these possibilities, they are in such a good state right now. Like, if you were to ask me which champion has the best major items to choose from in the game, I would honestly say Nasus. Or pretty much all of them have been buffed recently, and the top lane in terms of meta is actually really good for Nasus just to chill in and scale. So Nasus comes in at number 2. Now, the number 1 champion, guys, of 11.11, I reckon you can work this out. So as I said, Divine Sundra is really good on him. Black Cleaver can also be used on him, and of course, the next patch, this is going to be better against armor stacking players, and he has the best laning phase out of all the top laners, and this, of course, is Wukong, who has held this number 1 spot for multiple patches this season. Now, Trinity Force may still be bought, but Divine Sundra, guys, I'm telling you, next patch, get around Wukong. He's going to be banned more, he's going to be played more, people are going to start notice how good he really is, so get in there for that freelo nice and early. So those are the 15 best top laners, guys, of 11.11. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Leave a like, of course, to let us know you enjoyed the video, and until tomorrow's upload, this has been the Jizz. Peace.